Thank you very much, Father Dennis, for that embarrassingly long introduction. Let me reintroduce myself because my treatment of this afternoon's topic is directly connected to who I am and what I do. I am a Salesian educator. I'm also a teacher and a trend watcher. As an educator, besides youth ministry, I dabble with organizational and pastoral communication. As a teacher, I lecture management, literature, and sometimes a little bit of spirituality. But my favorite topic is trend watching. I am tasked to watch for ideologies and technologies that will affect the areas of education and evangelization, especially for young people. When I arrived this afternoon, someone asked me what I would be lecturing or what's the nature of my talk. Would it be more spiritual or theological or catechetical? Looking at the sisters and knowing that many of you are professors in these subjects, except for a quote or two from a theologian, I will be avoiding these areas and will largely be exploring youth situations, papal recommendations, and the social sciences. On the onset, I will also not join the debate on what direction should we take, whether we shall be taking communication theology or theology of communications. Many Salesians have taken John Paul II's writing and espoused theology of communication. But I am in an SBD territory where the voice of the revered Father Joseph Eilers, also my professor, is decidedly against a theology of communication and would rather use communication theology. I'm a fence-sitter on this issue and have opted to stand in the middle, literally like a conjunctive, and would rather just say theology and communication. So I see the world in these two lenses. Talk of eyeglasses. I have worn this eyeglass for about 25 years, almost the same time as my priesthood. Someone this Christmas gifted me with the clip shades. I personally found it a little too big, but since it is the uso of my time, I decided to wear it, also not to disappoint the donor, otherwise we would lose benefactor. So anyway, I decided to give it a try, at least for a day trip to Bohol riding a ferry. In place of my religious garb, I was wearing this white polo shirt and my oversized shades. And so I was looking forward to stealing a nap while in the waiting lounge, waiting for the ferry. An elderly couple struck a courteous conversation with me saying, Are you a pilot? You know, I was waiting for a ferry and this was the question. I looked at them and I said no. But definitely I looked at this couple, they are boomers. A little further, another one tried to have a conversation with me and asked me, are you PSG? And I said, this guy is a Gen X, definitely. I went to a corner, this time hoping to be alone, when a younger person came to me and asked, massage, sir? This is a millennial, Gen 1. Anyway, I say this because things are changing. People are changing. We are separated by gaps not only of age, but also by technology. Things that are familiar are transitioning. Someone asked me, would you ever kiss something like this? I don't know. If I kiss it, maybe it will change the screen. Even our choir loaves are changing their looks from this to this. Even priests are trying to get in touch with God in the way that they can. Let us not make fun of priests because the sisters are also... These two sisters are in the Vatican and they're actually finding a way to get home. They forgot that they brought the remote control of the air conditioner. Seriously speaking, let us begin. John Dewey was influential in education and social reform. He opens a chapter of his book, Experience and Nature, with a claim, of all things, communication is the most wonderful. For him, communication is the highest of the arts of life, for it is in communication that society is born and nurtured. It is by communication that we discover the possibilities of nature, and it is through communication that we make our shared experience meaningful. It is a beautiful statement, especially for me. But most people would agree that the statement, by any reasonable interpretation, is not true, at least for everyday experience. We know that in many instances, communication is not always satisfying nor rewarding, even if done with the best of intentions. While effective communication can prevent or solve problems, they can also create and aggravate situations. My primary purpose this afternoon is to discuss with my fellow religious and consecrated brothers something so common we do not even stop to ponder seriously about it. Marshall McLuhan observes that one thing of which the fish is unaware of is water. We have become so used to the word communication that we focus on its forms and the things that support its existence, but not on what it truly is or what it should be. Information and communication, as Sidney Harris explains, signify different things. Information is giving out, communication is getting through, and more. My other purpose this afternoon is getting through some uneasiness and have you to rise or jump out from your comfort zone to seriously consider moving towards new directions, especially in communication. I know that may sound like an overconfident aim for an hour's talk. Truth here is there used to be some sense of safety for a non-member to speak to a group like this. But with Google and Facebook, people can now be checked out and double-checked, even as the speaker is currently speaking. So I admit that I feel some sense of anxiety because you can easily verify if I walk my talk. But I feel at least that I can, in my modest way, leave behind a contribution because we share a lot of common things with each other. When I was in the novitiate some 33 years ago, I was struck by the study of an article in our constitutions. Article 43 was social communication. It read, "We work in the social communication sector. This is a significant field of activity, which constitutes one of the apostolic priorities of the Salesian mission. Our founder had an instinctive grasp of the value of this means of mass education, which creates culture and spreads patterns of life. He showed great originality in the apostolic undertakings which he initiated to defend and sustain the faith of the people. Following his example, we utilize as God's gift the great possibilities which social communication offers us for education and evangelization." My discomfort in this article came after many years later when I realized that the article views communication as an instrument or technique to be utilized. There is no blaming anyone here, just a deep sigh from my end. My own novice master skipped explaining this part because, as he would later tell me, he had little idea what it meant. I checked my novitiate notes just recently and saw more precautions and warnings on media use than real-life explanations of this article's relevance. Some media men call this, with what is now an overused phrase, a paradigm shift for religious. Of the many explanations of what communication is, let me take off from John Dewey, who uses communication in two different senses. The transmission view of communication, which is the commonest view in most cultures and dominates contemporary definitions. It is defined by terms as imparting, sending, transmitting, or giving information to others. It is formed from a metaphor of geography or transportation or telephone. The concentration is in the process of sending and what happens to the message. Then there is the ritual view of communication. It is considered as an archaic view. It is linked to terms such as sharing, participation, fellowship, and the possession of a common belief in faith. By contrast to the transmission view, the ritual view of communication concentrates on shared culture of those who create and maintain the message, their shared beliefs, the ceremonies that draw them together in fellowship and commonality. I'm sure that you're getting the hint that I will favor the latter. Social scientists explain to us that models and views of communication are not merely of communication, but representations for communication. They are templates that guide concrete processes of human interaction, but they also establish rituals of groups of people. The discussion of communication cannot be detached from the idea of culture, seen as a set of practices, a mode of human activity whereby reality is created, maintained, and transformed by and for a group of individuals. Every religious order prescribes a certain communication model for its members. How members talk, how members project themselves, how members write. As Salesians, we are big in flexibility, in adapting, in reading signs of the times, and therefore ready and quick to change when needed. These are our favorite catchphrases, especially in communication. I'm sure that we have taken these traits rather liberally many times. We're not known to be monotones or flatliners or generic. Without bragging, many of us border on excitement and risk. And we have our hyperactive, high-strung, overzealous founder to thank for, and whose personality has influenced the quality of our ministry, including the mistakes that we do till today. Constitutions 19 mentions his very words. In those things which are for the benefit of young people, in danger, or which serve to win souls for God, I push ahead even to the extent of recklessness. The discussion of communication is deeply and disastrously deformed when we, those who should proclaim the gospel, simply consider communication as techniques and focus on the proper use of gadgets, or how we can use modern means to communicate our teachings, our values, our message of the gospel. When SBDs discuss communication, there is already an introduction of what kind of communication should and can happen. Here we take, for example, SDB or SBD, not only as a nominal distinction for an organization that highlights a culture of a group where avowed members put their collective values and traditions at the service of their mission. But this also means we are not held immobile because of our rootedness, but mandated to move, to be forward-looking for the sake of meaningful relevance. Our choice of model of communication, therefore, is informed by our religious culture. And at the same breath, our religious culture is influenced, hopefully enriched, by the ever-evolving culture of communication. Said in a different way, when we choose our media for communication, we also open the chance for technologies to influence our behavior and the manner we do communication. There is a form of mutuality here, because one is cautious with haste and the other lives to hustle. Let me talk we here, inasmuch as we are in this together, especially in the field of education and evangelization. Given this relationship dynamics, while encouraged to be reflective, we must do so with calculated urgency. I would like to identify some of the more obvious features of the new culture and tease out the implications for ministry of education and evangelization. I do not intend to offer definitive solutions. The cultural transformation is still rapidly ongoing. This makes my observations very tentative. Nonetheless, I intend to offer some ideas and questions in order to stimulate reflection and discussion. I place as a background the time when the church relaunched the battle cry for new evangelization. Without a doubt, the social reality, the communication revolution has created a vast cultural transformation. The call is not something new. It has been there since Vatican II, 1965, rekindled in 1990, and once again in 2010 when Pope Benedict XVI established the Pontifical Council for promoting new evangelization. The newness which Pope Benedict and Pope Francis asked us all, especially clergy and consecrated people, to consider has to do with the technology-saturated situation in which we find ourselves in today, and the response that is required if we are to be faithful to the mission of the church and that of our founders. What does this mean for us clergy and consecrated people? First, we must study and strive to understand the cultural context in which we find ourselves in if we are to render effective and meaningful ministry. Without trying to be repetitive, today's times present new situations and new challenges that people have never encountered before. This therefore requires from us new analysis, new methods, new expressions, and new ardor. Our common strategy has been very simplistic. We responded by juxtaposing new evangelization and new media. That's all. There's a call for new evangelization. That means let us use new media. It is not at all bad because there is in fact an obvious connection. The use of new media can greatly enhance our efforts to communicate, educate, and evangelize. Unfortunately, many of us have not progressed from such a paradigm. We remained and got used to the technical or instrumental level in relation to new media. Our discussion have focused on how can we efficiently use these new gadgets to evangelize. This allowed us to substitute old tech with new tech, to jump from the classroom chalkboard to digital platforms, to the church pulpit to the digital forum. However, there were less discussions on important topics like how radically has our religious life changed because of these new realities? How has ministry been transformed? Are the changes good or bad? What changes can we predict and prepare for? The last 30 years have seen an exponential rate of development in capacities of technologies available to facilitate human communication. The combination of these developments in personal and mobile gadgets mean that many of us now carry with us devices that allow us instant connection with other people, access to extraordinary range of opinions, information, and news from anywhere and anyone by word, by images, or live interaction. Second, the revolution in information and communication technologies, however, should not be discussed merely in instrumental terms. We, especially the older ones among us, must realize that people are changing because of new technology. More and more people use this technology to communicate, learn, interact, and relate. If you were born in the 1965, social anthropologists or cyborg anthropologists would call you Gen X. And the generation just about 15 years above you will be called Gen Ys, Millennials, or the Gen Z. The truth here is there are obvious behavioral differences. Very obvious. Teenagers in our time used to carry real gadgets and they were called hot. Today everything is compressed and everything is cool. The word wicked is not anymore evil. A young person sees something really, really good and awesome, it's wicked. YouTube used to be a part of the faucet or the toilet. Now it's something that we watch. Dating was different then and now. We Gen Xers experience real-life flirting, with no exceptions. Ask the sisters. People now rely on online dating. Gen Xers like myself got beatings for corrections. Gen Ys and millennials got explanations. For punishment, we were grounded and prohibited from going outside. Today, kids are prohibited from going online. We had martial law and EDSA and called it activism. They go to rant in social media and call it slacktivism. When in trouble with someone, we say things to their faces. Today they say things in Facebook. We are the shopping mall generation. They are the internet cafe generation. We reflect and write long essays. They express in text and Twitter in bite-sized info, not more than 150 characters. In our teen days, we learned stuff so we could do it together. Today, they learn in YouTube so that they can do it yourself. After every break, we were asked to submit an essay what we did last summer or Christmas. You ask the generation today the same question, they just tell you, Mom, sir, just check my Facebook. Everything is there. Pope Benedict reminds us, the new technologies are not only changing the way we communicate, but communication itself. So much so that it could be said that we are living through a period of vast cultural transformation. Third, the new culture of communication requires that we all discuss the transformations that have been going on in our religious life and mission as a result of new technologies. Dr. George Khalil, in his book Communion in the Community, explains religious community life. He mentions how simple and ordinary things are very useful for keeping community united and in building up participation and fraternal spirit. His list synchronizes with both our constitutions, which tell us to practice and preserve community prayers, community meals, community recreation, community celebrations, apostolate, meetings, projects, evaluation, outings, gathering, recollection, planning, and discernment. The challenge to community life sometimes is the fact that individual members come from different families and different cultures. They bring with them diverse behaviors. We can do nothing about these different backgrounds. However, the establishment of interpersonal relationship is the first step in building communities. Each individual member must have a sense of responsibility towards the community, and each member must feel part of the community. To live community life well, all the members have to actively do their part. The question that follows now is, are we still able to build up communities through these encounters, especially when technology is around? If yes, what realities are challenging these aspects that build our community communion? I do not want to put all the blame on technology, especially on ICTs, but yes, they have become wedges that have divided us, the third parties that have made others jealous, paramours that have stolen our hearts from essential spiritual matters. No one wants to extensively talk about the elephant in the room. The fact is, our interpersonal relationships are being challenged by technology. Nowadays, with members having their own smartphones, tablets, laptops, and television, we can miss out being together. Or when together, we can get interrupted or separated by our technology. Pope Francis last year, in November 2017, warned the Christians to put down their phones in church, emphasizing that phones are a distraction that takes away the focus from the heart of the church, which is the Eucharist. Ad-libbing, he said, "It makes me very sad when I celebrate Mass here in the piazza or in the basilica and I see so many cell phones held up. not only by the faithful but also by some priests and even bishops. The priest says, lift up your hearts. He does not say, lift up your cell phones and take pictures. Obviously, more is expected from us who must lead our flock by example. We know that technology can be put into better use in doing ministry, but ought not to disturb our religious life nor our relationship with each other. The new media, fourth, is just a means, not just a means, but a place in the lives of many people today, especially the millennials, the Gen Ys, and the Gen Zs. It is school, it is church, it is playground, it is home, it is clinic. In 2001, I joined a small group of tech priests asking the Vatican, writing the letter for the second time, to appoint a bishop of cyberspace because it is a place. I remember good old Sister Carolina, just looking at the sisters now, my favorite sister, who taught me elementary class religion and science, which made me choose the seminary and major in physics. I can only imagine her teaching today, and instead of confusing kids the way she confused us back then, I figure she would end up being confused herself if she would just know what languages are today. I know that she thinks about this a few years ago, but you say today that the Lord gave us the 10 Commandments, the tablets. This is exactly what young people would think about. This new locus, this media platform, this public network, the new Aeropagus, is no less important than the real world, especially for the new generation. Therefore, as clergy, religious, we need to be present in this space. If not all of us, at least those prepared to enter into this world. Otherwise, we risk neglecting, if not abandoning, many people from whom this is where they live. Let me underline those prepared. I say this with some sense of duplicity, since I have no social media account as yet. The digital world, the digital world is and will never be familiar to all of us, especially to us digital immigrants. But it is where our millennial converts go to today. Today's young people go to the forum in which they get their news and information, form and express their opinions, ask questions, discuss all matters, faith, family, school, society, and culture. In our SDB culture, most of us have developed a presence in this new place. This is a new world, but we have not collectively responded well to this challenge of being there together as a congregation, as a community. It is my opinion that like establishing settings and houses that we fill with conference designated to do specific ministries, legitimately registered in the official directory as a community, we need to appoint full-time conference for the world of new media or digital world or the cyberspace, whatever name we choose to refer to it. The hesitation is not because we do not want to, but because of a combination of these reasons. We do not know exactly how to go about this. We are overly comfortable with old paradigms. We cannot afford to put full-time, at least in our case, Salesians. And we are not convinced that this is still a legitimate apostolate. So many still consider this as leisure.